What's poppin', people? It's Dante. Merry Christmas. Today is Christmas Day, December 25th, 2024, and I'm going for my morning walk, headed to the Schuylkill River. Yeah, thanks Mom for this beautiful beanie. My nice Christmas gift, keeping me warm. Yeah, heat is important to consider on these winter months. This morning I woke up, it was pretty cold, but you know, you crank the heat, feels good, snow's out. Yeah, it's a white Christmas. Imagine Washington on this day crossing the Delaware. What a genius he was. You know, there's no one out, right? There's no one out. It's very empty, the streets, on this Christmas morning, and kind of makes sense why Washington would decide to strike on this particular day where people are having their guards down. Anyways, yeah, just getting the morning started. I love walking, movement. You know, this to me is bliss. This to me is where I find myself in paradise on earth. And yeah, I find that the word motivation is interesting because of its etymological roots in the Latin word being movere, meaning to move, right? So the movement of your body, the movement of your two legs, your 2 feet, and the observation of the individual with the camera is ultimately what determines the result of the photograph. And in order to make a photograph, one must be motivated. But in order to be motivated, you have to be driven to move your physical body. And so perhaps the notion of motivation is a pretty weak word to use, and maybe a stronger word to use would be the drive of a photographer and what drives the photographer to move the physical body. And so for me, what drives me as a photographer is this concept of curiosity. And curiosity for me means waking up each morning simply eager to get the day started. Curiosity is about engaging with the world and all of its complexities and observing the nuances and the gradual details and different things that you see throughout your journey of walking and moving your body through the world. And engaging the sensual experience, the sounds, the sights, the smells all around you are what guide you, are what guide me when I go out there with my camera. And so in order to have this feeling of curiosity, I believe it's important to cultivate vitality. And so getting good sleep, drinking good coffee, maybe lifting weights, stretching your legs, as this is what drives you and moves you out there onto the front lines of life. You know, for me, I get this really good stretching routine in each morning. I love doing yoga. I love doing different poses that strengthen my legs, and yeah, just setting my body in motion without any preconceived notions of what I will find. And I believe in order to be curious, in order to cultivate curiosity, one must focus first and foremost on vitality. And this is something I'm learning along my way, you know, something I'm considering much more deeply as I go out here each and every day. It's that feeling of power, it's that feeling of strength that drives you out there with courage to then press the shutter. And so in order to be a photographer that's endlessly curious, yeah, perhaps the strong photographer will make stronger photographs, as that photographer will be moving more. And so for me, movement is honestly like the ethos. It's pretty much the ethos of street photography, right? When I consider what street photography is all about, it's about the spontaneity, the rawness, the candid nature of the photographs that we make. It's about life unposed on the street. It's about making pictures with speed and movement is what it's all about. You know, the movement of the photographer, the movement of the moments, the movement of your camera and the different gestures that occur that trigger you to make a photograph. The idea of change, of flux, of movement really resonate with me as I contemplate photography and what this all means, because yeah, life is fleeting, the moments are fleeting. Every day is different and we are always changing. And so perhaps embracing that change and focusing on that change will inevitably lead us to this mode of production and a flow state that is critical to achieve when practicing street photography, where the more you consider change and the more you realize the inevitability of change itself, and how every day the light changes and how every day is different and how every moment, you know, is fleeting, well, then you realize this beautiful, abundant idea that you can never make the same photograph twice. You know, just like this river, ever flowing, ever changing, ever moving, you too have the ability to always evolve and change and transform and to make a photograph of the same thing, of the same river, but never make the same photograph twice. And to me, this has been one of the most empowering ideas, philosophies that I have adopted in regards to my photography practice that I engage with each and every day. And the reason being is because, you know, the name of the game, it's within the mundane. It's the ability for the photographer to go out there and walk the same lane each and every day, but still find something to uplift in a photograph. You know, to me, this is the challenge. This is the beauty of practicing street photography. It's finding yourself curious each day and recognizing that no matter where you are, no matter what place you may be in, what city or town you're currently residing in, you can always go out there and make something new and to create something from nothing by engaging with the world as a canvas, you know? And when I consider the world this way, as a canvas, as a stage, you know, where the people moving upon the concrete, walking their dogs and running endlessly, provide me with stories and infinite novelty to use as my subject. And yeah, I think that this is a really empowering notion, is to observe life, observe people, observe environments, places, things as your ultimate canvas. And you know, when I consider this idea, essentially I remind myself that the world is so open, right? And that there's infinite possibilities. There's so much to do, so much to see, so much to photograph, really. And that is one of the things that inspire me endlessly. Yeah, the love of life. You know, the love of life. That's, to me, what a photograph displays. You know, a photograph displays your lust for life. You know, you might look at a photograph and see light on surface, a fleeting moment, a person, a gesture, you know, a certain story. But ultimately, I view photography and the photographs I create as a display of my endless and infinite and abundant lust for life. You know, that to me is what a photograph is all about. It's about that lust, that love for life itself. And the life affirmation that photography provides me is on display with each click of the shutter. Let's go for a quick parkour session. Woo! Echo! Echo! Check it out, I'm in the mouth of a snake. The two eyes. Yeah, this is such a beautiful spot to hang out and just look out towards the horizon. We have the Philadelphia Museum of Art, this beautiful reflection. Yeah, I like to use my imagination. You know, I'm currently in the belly of a beast. I'm in the mouth of a snake, but I'm going to ascend beyond the museum there to a cliff where I can look out towards the Schuylkill River. And actually, I grew up very close to this river, or very close to where I am right now, in Roxborough and Manayunk and Andorra, that borough up there, 5 miles from here, just a stone throw away from this. You know, I can skip a rock and get there. up the Schuylkill River here, and yeah, I spent my childhood exploring in the Wissahickon Forest, building teepees with sticks, sharpening spears, building bridges with stones, climbing trees, swinging from vines, building forts, and just exploring the unknown. And I think when I go out here each and every day with my camera and photograph, I'm tapping into that inner child within me by going out into the world, exploring the unknown. And ultimately, what I realize about being an artist specifically is the embrace of the unknown. You know, it's the ability to articulate the chaos and put order to it. And that's what we do when we put four corners around life and click the shutter. And so with that, life and its unpredictability, you know, the spontaneity, the unknown, the chaos is where I personally thrive. And I find that most artists out there in the world, I think, do too thrive in the unknown, in the chaos, you know, on the edge of danger, you know, where, yeah, the unpredictability of life is what guides me each and every day. And yeah, I believe in order to go out there with courage, you should probably embrace the spirit of play, you know, where the spirit of play is all about tapping in to that inner child. Like when I think of how I was as a young boy and I would observe the world and tinker with the world, you know, I was looking at it with infinite curiosity. Like someone put this little tree down here and it's so cute. They put a star on top, Christmas Day. Oh, there goes the star. It fell on the ground, but now I can make a perfect photo of it because, yeah, it's got a nice backdrop now. Using the macro mode. You know, I feel as though when I'm close to the ground, when I'm close to the soil, and I have my hands and feet touching the leaves, touching the ground, I feel closest to God. You know, I feel closest to God when I remind myself that I'm bound by gravity. You know, when I'm bound, when I realize how I'm flesh and blood and cut and bleed and feel emotions of pain and suffering are inevitable in this life, you know. And when I realize the fate of the human being being death, yeah, that's what makes this whole thing so beautiful. And yeah, maybe when we photograph life and I look up at this sculpture and I gaze at it and I photograph it, I remind myself to champion humanity, to champion these experiences, the ups, the downs, the moments that are maybe left unfound. And, you know, the goal is for me to go out there and to discover these things and to take notice of life's complexities, whether good or bad, you know, and to champion that, because that is the human experience. And yeah, I just think life is just so fun, you know, and it's so short, so yeah, might as well just enjoy it, right? Yeah, I love this walk. Maybe I shouldn't eat these. You know, you look at something red and it's kind of enticing, right? But maybe red strikes fear as well. Like, I don't know if I should eat the red berries. I don't think you should eat the red berries that are growing from that bush. Just an FYI. Maybe they'll be poisonous. Yeah, so I'm currently filming with the GoPro Mini. I film at 1080p at 30 FPS, but then I export the file to 720p. And the reason being is I believe in the future of media consumption and presentation being on small tablets and phones and devices. And so, yeah, I think that 720p is fine. Good morning.
He wants to play.
The dog wants to play. Yeah, that's funny. The dog just stopped in its tracks. Yeah, where was I? And yeah, so in terms of the the sort of process and the practical things that I do to make my photographs, is I personally believe in making it as simple and easy and streamlined as possible. Filming this video, going for a walk, shooting with the GoPro, it's very simple. I don't have to do any fancy audio, video. I don't need a tripod or a microphone, right? I just kind of go for my walk. And in terms of making photographs, I prefer the compact camera. I prefer something that is in my pocket or glued to my wrist via a wrist strap. And using the Ricoh GR, the Ricoh GR3, the Ricoh GR3X, I believe becomes the closest thing to not having a camera, similar to that of using the GoPro for video. It's so small, this camera is so small that you really do forget that you even have a camera on you. You just have this magic black box that allows you to press the shutter, and it's very magical. It's always, I feel like photography just never gets old. Like, once you start making photographs, you get addicted to making photographs, you become obsessed with making photographs. And for me, I just can't stop each and every day, and I've been doing it for a decade straight. And yeah, there hasn't really been a day that I haven't had a camera on me since. And when I think of the camera itself, the camera is merely the excuse for me to go out there and to see the world, right? The camera is something that's provided me with infinite novelty and new experiences that I otherwise wouldn't have without a camera. And the reason being is because when I have a camera, I feel more courageous. When I have a camera, I believe, especially while practicing street photography, I go beyond the societal norms of being meek and staying to yourself and not being outgoing, and I become more audacious with the camera. I become more bold. I become more daring when I travel to new places with the camera, engaging with new cultures and people. And I've had numerous experiences throughout my life where, because I had the camera, I've been able to create everlasting memories. And while the photographs can display these memories, there are these raw experiences that you have that go beyond the simple photograph. And for me, that's merely a byproduct of me living my life and exploring and displaying my lust for life. And what I'm trying to say is, I'm not too interested in pictures. I'm interested in life itself, and I'm interested in going out there and exploring and just being open, And so I remember a specific journey of mine that I always think about, because it's one of my first very interesting experiences while practicing photography. Was during my trip to Jerusalem, where I was studying abroad there at Hebrew University. I would travel the road from Jerusalem to Jericho very frequently, and I was so curious about the Palestinian life in the city. And I would go into the mosque with my camera just around my neck and follow along with the prayer session and try to learn how they make prayer. Doing wudu, washing, my hands, my feet and everything, and then just going in there. And a lot of the men in this mosque were interested, like, who is this American guy? I piqued their curiosity. And after this session of prayer in the mosque, this family invited me to their home. We drank tea, we had food, I went up to their roof. They were working and building a new room for one of their brothers, and they invited me during the sunset to travel the Wadi Kelt range up in the mountains. And yeah, I got in their car, and as we chugged along up this rocky mountain, which was extremely treacherous, and the car was so old, that vehicle broke down. And I remember we got out of the car and the brothers started pushing it up the mountain. And as we rose to the peak and we looked out towards the Dead Sea, looking at the mountain ranges in Jordan, we were not brothers, right? Me and these men. We were not related whatsoever. We can't speak to each other. I know zero Arabic. and I have my camera. I've got this Instax. I'm making Polaroids. I'm giving these Polaroids to them. And we joined in song, in chanting and dance together. You know, as we cooked tea and coffee over the fire, and we sat there together without being able to communicate with each other. We all chanted together and we danced together, and you know, we moved together, and I felt this harmony and unity, you know, that is so beyond cultural barriers and beyond, you know, the language barriers. And photography provided that for me. You know, like, photography provided me the ability to experience these things, and I'm just so grateful for that, because it reminds me how, you know, we are all one as humanity. I love humanity, and that moment was one of the first moments I remember with my camera that really sparked my love and curiosity for people, ultimately. And yeah, it was a very beautiful experience, and it reminds me that, man, photography, it's the universal language of the world. And yeah, it can potentially bring people together despite where they live, despite their cultural language, you know, barriers. And yeah, I suppose my biggest piece of advice for any photographer who is looking to travel, who's looking to go out into the world and experience new places, which I believe everyone should do. You know, I think if you're a photographer and you're on the streets and you're curious about making pictures of people and, you know, doing this kind of work, you should travel. You should go and see these new places. And a very simple and practical suggestion that I have for others to accomplish this goal of making these sort of pictures is to simply carry an Instax camera, carry a Polaroid camera, right? One of those, you know, quick cameras where you can take a picture, a snapshot, and gift it to strangers. And what this has allowed me to do is experience so many different things. And I could sit here and rattle off time after time, experience after experience, and I have this abundance of memories and experiences that I have that the camera and photography has provided me, that I'm just so grateful for. And hopefully you or one other person will hear this bit of advice, this tip of carrying an Instax camera, or being open and courageous and bold, or just simply being curious, and actually go out there and do that too, because it's just provided me with so much joy in my life that I really want others to also feel that joy. And yeah, to this day, even in my hometown, I feel this way. And I think in order to find this feeling of joy through making pictures each day, through embracing that walk in the same mundane lane, you should approach the streets, approach your hometown with the mindset of a tourist. Right? When a tourist approaches a new city or a new location, they're so eager to wake up, you know, they're so eager simply to catch the sunrise, right? Oh, you know, if you're, you know, on vacation or traveling somewhere new, you always want to wake up early and catch the sunrise, because that's the most beautiful time of the day. And yeah, I personally have the ultimate goal in life to simply wake up each and every day eager to catch the sunrise, right? I never want to miss another sunrise again. You know, that to me is the ultimate feeling and sign of success. You know, that to me is what success is. You know, as a photographer, success isn't about making a good or bad photograph. Success is feeling full of vitality and curiosity to wake up in the morning and to move your physical body out there onto the front lines of life and become closer and closer to humanity and to what it means to live. And I find that through photography, perhaps we can discover what this means. You know, what is the core of humanity? You know, perhaps we can crack into that through making photographs. And so, yeah, for me, I have a very autotelic approach to making photographs, and I always really have. You know, photography for me is just something I do, and not something I necessarily have to think about while I'm doing it. I'm not attached to any outcome. You know, I'm not attached to the results whatsoever, because the process is what brings me this feeling of joy. Making a good photograph, and I can tell you with 100% certainty after a decade of doing this thing, it's really not that important. You know, for me, when I get a good photo, I just move on to the next one. You know, I'm just like, okay, let me go to the next day, the next moment. You know, that's to me the goal. It's to simply produce more photographs and to ever expand my catalog, my archive, my stack of prints, my stash of files, right? And so to be in the mode of production is to me the goal, to simply go out there, walk more, photograph more, experience more, see more, do more. That to me is what it's all about. It's not about making a good or bad photograph. Those come far and few between. And so it's important to approach this thing because you love to make photographs, and that's it. You know, and if you're doing the thing because you love doing the thing, well, then that is what success to me looks like. And yeah, I also, whenever meeting photographers in Philadelphia here, I love to encourage other photographers to start a website. And the reason being, it gives you a place to put your photographs, and you don't have to take it so seriously. And to detach from social media sites like Instagram will provide you with a playground on your own website to actually play more and to experiment more and to not rely on external validation for your work. And so I highly suggest, going into this new year of 2025, you know, this is not a business advice, right? This is for an artist, right? That simply wants to cultivate their curiosity. Delete your Instagram, man. Just delete it. You don't need it. Go to the little wrench icon, delete your Instagram account going into the new year, set up using bluehost.com, take your first name and your last name, purchase your domain. It's about $3 per month. Use wordpress.org to build your site. I use the Astra theme, and I've simplified it so that all it really is like having an original like Tumblr blog. And it's very bare bones and simple. And I encourage you to perhaps find this to be the place where you dump your photos as well. I think it will maybe bring more joy in your photography, honestly. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's about cultivating that feeling of joy, and through curiosity and vitality, this is the intersection where you can meet those this goal of joy. And yeah, just some random morning musings along my walk here at the Schuylkill River. This is the pavilion, and I enjoy walking along this dirt path, and it leads me here where I have a beautiful view of the horizon, once again reminding me how open the world is, how much there is to do, to see, to explore, to photograph. Yeah, there's really infinite possibilities and no limits, and photography provides me this feeling of abundance. Yeah, maybe you won't live forever, but at least you can make a photograph.